So eventually, all of this frustration kind of came to a head at a point a few years ago when I found out that I was pre diabetic. I had high blood pressure. My health was not good. My energy was terrible. I was at the highest weight I had ever been. And during that time, I ended up going through a really difficult divorce. I'm Melissa Forward. Welcome to Damsel of Success, where we talk about all things money. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Wednesday. I ended up going through a really difficult divorce, and I would be lying if I were to say that my weight was not a contributing factor to that divorce. Like, I'm not trying to cast any judgment upon my ex-partner because the weight issue is a complicated issue, and the relationship itself is a complicated thing, and there were a lot of factors that went into that divorce. But I will say that being at the highest weight that I had ever been didn't align with who my partner was at the time. And I remember there was this moment, and he was trying to be really supportive of me at the time. And I was looking for a job in the best, I don't want you to take this out of context, but like in the best, most supportive way possible. He said to me, we were talking about career options, and he said to me, like, well, there's this one girl at my work, and she got this job, and she's even bigger than you are. And that just broke me. I mean, it's embarrassing to say that, and I know, like, it was not his intention to hurt me in that way at all, but it hurt. I just felt so different and misunderstood, and like I was less than in the relationship. And I think it's probably, the lack of confidence that I had more than anything that I would call a contributing factor. At the end of it, I felt super, super low about who I was and what I looked like and how attractive I was as a person. I ended up kind of just restarting my life in a different place, but I was, like I said, the highest weight I've ever been. And after that, after going through this really tumultuous, difficult divorce, I gained even a little bit more weight after that, just was at a really low point. And this is where I'm going to cut to my sister's story. So pretty much independently of me, it's really crazy to think about this because I'm really close to my sister, but when you have this really deep-rooted shame about who you are and how you're presenting yourself to the world, you don't always share that with somebody, even if they're really close to you. And that was the case with both of us. Like, we were not sharing with each other the struggle that we were having. We would comment about it from time to time. We would share, the latest diet that we were on, but I don't think we ever really had like a genuine, real deep conversation about how it was affecting us emotionally to be overweight. So it kind of pains me to think about her going through this particular struggle alone. But she told me that in 2017, in January of 2017, she had kind of like her weight loss struggle had also come to a head. And she had decided, she said, I'm going to give myself a year to lose this weight. I'm going to do everything I possibly can over the next year to lose weight the right way or the traditional way to lose weight. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to pursue weight loss surgery. She gave it a really, really good try. My God, she was like going to CrossFit, and she was watching her calories, and she was doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, and it wasn't working. It just wasn't working for her. By about September of 2017, she said, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, this isn't working. I'm gonna, pursue the option of weight loss surgery. And at the time, she was on a different insurance plan that wouldn't cover it. So she said, come January 1st, I'm going to pursue this option because I can switch health plans at that time and get it covered under a new insurance plan. So in January of 2018, she started pursuing the option of getting weight loss surgery. And a few months after that, she let me know that she was going to do it. And that was the tipping point. That was like my absolute like realization moment when I said, "Oh, this is an option. Like this could be an option for me." Which is honestly is kind of ridiculous because my mom also had weight loss surgery. Like her story is crazy. Like she lost over 200 pounds having weight loss surgery and looks amazing today, and it worked out really well for her. But that didn't mean that I didn't still feel the stigma around the potential of having weight loss surgery. I would say that like a lot of people in my life at the time that my mom had weight loss surgery were critical of weight loss surgery, very critical of it. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people consider it to be the easy way out. Anybody who you talk to who has actually had it will tell you that is absolutely not the case. But, they considered it cheating, essentially. And so I had absorbed those judgments for myself, not on her. I mean, I thought she had made the right choice for herself, for sure. Like my mom did an amazing thing. She made an amazing choice for herself, and I didn't have that judgment towards her, but I definitely had it towards me considering it as an option for myself. So when my sister told me that she was in the process of, pursuing weight loss surgery for herself, it was just like kind of like this bomb that dropped in my mind because, suddenly I have to confront this stigma for myself in order to accept it for her, right? And so it just made me like go completely down the research wormhole. And thank goodness, because I did the research. I, read about people's experiences. I read about the efficacy rate. I did the research about like what the long-term effects are of having weight loss surgery, of, what you can expect, what the procedure is like, what it means for your life going forward. And ultimately, I decided that it could be an option for me. It took that process of like confronting that stigma that I held for myself in order to, consider it to be an option. I think that's actually super sad because if you're considering doing this and your biggest hurdle is what other people will think of you, I get it, but it's not a hurdle that should be considered, period. Like it's just not something that you need to worry about. Once I had decided like that I could that this could be an option, that I could go forward with it, I remember just like taking this walk, and I was out on this walk and I was like, hey, this is an option for you. Why are you waiting? What's in your way? You have this money in your account that you can pay for this surgery. The option exists. What's stopping you? And in my head at the time, I had thought, well, I'll do it after Christmas because I want to go through, like, I don't want to have to worry about eating over the holidays. I don't want to have to worry about, like, and my birthday is in September. And I was like, I don't want to have to worry about, being post-surgery during the holidays and during my birthday. I'll just wait until next year. But while I was out on this walk, I was like, why? Why do I want to wait? Like, there's just no reason. There's no reason to wait for this thing that could ultimately be positive, that could change my life. I don't want to exchange Christmas dinner for something that could potentially change my life. And the really big thing about this too was that I knew that I was blaming a lot of things in my life on this weight issue. And I needed to know what my life would look like without that barrier. Like, was it was it an excuse that I was using? And to some degree, I'd still say, yeah, it was a little bit of an excuse that I was using, that this weight was in my way. And to some degree, it's not, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too. I just needed to know, and I needed to know sooner rather than later. And so I decided to schedule my surgery date. It was, I believe it was early July at the time. And so I scheduled it for late August 30th of 2018. And now on the flip side of this, remember that my sister had been pursuing this since January of 2018. And because she's going through the traditional surgery route, or the traditional healthcare covered surgery route, she had to go and jump through a few hoops that insurance requires you to jump through in order to get a surgery date. And so her scheduled date for surgery ended up being in early September. It's crazy to me. It ended up taking her 9 months to prove to the health insurance companies that she needed to have this surgery and that it was a viable option for her. But she eventually did that, and so we ended up having the same surgery, which was the RNY or roux-en-y surgery, gastric bypass surgery. We had it within 3 weeks of one another. So tell me about your done moment. Like, did you have a moment when you just decided you were done? Is that what brought you here? Like, I want to know about your story too. I know we all have different stories and we all come to this from a different angle. So if this is something you're considering, I'd love to hear why. I'd love to hear what you're struggling with in your decision, what factors, you're thinking about, and I'll do my best to reply to any comments that you make. Definitely put it down in the comments. And as a community, I hope we can support each other. If you see somebody else's story, please give them a little bit of love too. This is a difficult decision. So if you're thinking about it, please, tell me why, tell me about, what brought you here. I will absolutely comment back and reply to you if it's within about a week of when I post this video. So that brings us to the point where my sister had her surgery scheduled and I had my surgery scheduled. And these surgeries were about 3 weeks apart. Mine was in August, hers was in September of 2018. And I think it's just like kind of an interesting situation because, we obviously have very similar genetics, both have the same parents. We are, pretty close in age. We're 15 months apart. And, our weights were, within about 20-ish pounds of each other at the time. Anyway, I think it's just interesting as a comparison, it's probably one of the best comparisons you can have between getting weight loss surgery in Mexico and getting it in, the United States. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Wendy's experience of having this surgery in Colorado. So like I said, it took a really, really long time for her to be able to get a surgery date. I believe that the case is that you have to have 2 qualifying factors in order to be eligible. First of all, you have to be within a particular weight range or BMI range, maybe it is. And then you also have to have another factor that contributes to you being high risk. High risk, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, but essentially you have to have another health factor that makes the health insurance company say this is the right move for you. So in her case, I believe it was that she was also diagnosed with sleep apnea. Part of her process to get approved for surgery was to not only go through the rigorous process of getting through this in terms of like a pre-surgery consultations, psych evaluation, classes. She went through 6 weeks of classes, weight loss classes prior to getting her surgery date scheduled. But she also had to get a sleep study done. She had to buy a CPAP machine and start using that before she was able to get a surgery date. So it took her 9 months, like I said, took her 9 months to get a surgery date. Overall, I think her experience was really positive because, she has, even to this day, like she can communicate with her doctors. So we're 2 years out. And she recently had, a minor issue and was able to call up her surgery center, and they left a message for her surgeon who called her back, directly and gave her advice and gave her a prescription to solve the issue that she had. And that kind of access is amazing. And I think like overall the process was really good for her. I think she said, on the downside that the communication about the process was not great. As an example, there was at one point during the process where she was waiting for them to let her know about the next step that she had to take. And they didn't let her know that they were waiting on her for her to do something. And she had no idea. And I swear to you, like this woman was so focused on getting things done to get this thing to happen. Because of that miscommunication, she lost an entire month of time before she could have her surgery. So that was a frustration for her. Another frustration was that the classes that they have you take were a little bit, they were a little bit basic and a little bit almost like insulting. Anyone who's been on this weight loss journey has probably educated themselves to a pretty high degree, and the classes, while well intentioned, were a little bit like, do you know what a protein is? Like obviously we all know like what a protein and a fat is and a carbohydrate. Like, we understand, our macros a little bit at least. For the most part. But, well intentioned, and it's important that everybody's on the same page. I'm sure, like some people do go into it not knowing that kind of stuff, and it's important that everybody does. So, it was a little bit frustrating for her at times to be in that environment. But her surgery went great. And everything went smoothly, and she had a great experience. She had that obviously after mine. So I'm going to talk to you about my experience a little bit.